It's Another Side of Midnight.
Political humorist T.J. McCormick.
Now, to the Bernard McGurk studios of 77 WABC.
Here's T.J. McCormick.
Joining us now here on Another Side of Midnight with T.J. McCormick on 77 WABC. We are joined once again, first time in a while, by professor and research fellow from the Moshe Dayan Center for Middle Eastern and African Studies at Tel Aviv University, Harel Chorev. Welcome back to the program, Harel.
Hi, TJ. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. Well, listen, we were going to speak last week, couldn't put it together, but so much happened in the interim that we had no choice but to have you on and tap into your expertise. So much has been happening surrounding the Middle East, Israel, and now, yet again, terrorism has reared its head in the UK this time. This is an example, probably, I would imagine, of lone wolf terrorism. And I'm going to set you up with a question here. Tell me a little bit about lone wolf terrorism, and also tell me a little bit about the concerns you may have had over the last week or two, in terms of emboldening Hamas, emboldening lone wolf terrorists. And it's no coincidence, I wonder, about it happening in the UK, where they are amongst those groups of European nations who decided to honor Hamas by recognizing a state, a sovereign state of Palestine. Take it away.
Sure. So lone wolf terrorism is basically the most prevalent terrorism form in the United States since 2013. In Israel, it's since 2014, excluding obviously October 7. I've done pretty deep, I would say, research about lone wolf terrorism in Israel. And what I found is that usually we have a business with people who want to resolve their issues, whether they are mental issues or financial ones or personal ones, all sorts of things, a daughter of someone who forced her to marry a 65 years old guy and she wants to commit a suicide. So basically it's a form of what you call here in the United States a suicide by a cop. Namely, they understand, most of the lone wolves in Israel understand that they are going to die, but they want to die. They want to kill themselves. They basically want to commit a suicide, but they want to whitewash it through so-called national act of attacking a soldier, a police officer, and so on and so forth. Usually, the personal motive is very strong, but the context is very important as well, because the context gives legitimacy. Okay, in the Muslim culture, suicide is something that you're not supposed to do, like in many other religion and culture. So this is the way to whitewash it. This is the way to say, I sacrificed myself in the sake of the nation, but in fact, it's coming from personal motives. Now, the context helps to put it, in a more quote unquote heroic context. What we had in Manchester was a Syrian lone wolf. From what we understand, at least until now, is that he acted alone, but maybe we will find something else later on. But for now, this is what we understand. And obviously the context was the large demonstration in Britain organized by Muslim Brotherhood and extreme leftist elements what we call the Red-Green Alliance, which sounds, TJ, impossible. Like what Islamist has to do with Marxist. But this is basically the coalition that is being formed there, and it's pretty much all over the world. It's not something unique for Britain, but I would say the radical atmosphere, anti-Semitism, blunt anti-Semitism, support of Palestinian state in time, which is, at least in Israelis and American eyes, is not the right time for that, even if you are a supporter of two-state solution, okay? This is kind of things that encourage those people to think that they have legitimacy, and legitimacy is very important here, to do what they're doing and to whitewash their own motives. And,
we're talking to Harel Chorev here on Another Side of Midnight with TJ McCormick, 1-800-848-9222, here at 77 WABC. They're going to feel legitimate, especially in the UK, especially in France, especially in other parts of Europe, and right here in New York, when they're given free rein to march and free rein to intimidate students, and let alone when the when the Prime Minister of the UK and now his deputy Prime Minister, former Foreign Secretary David Lammy, an absolute anti-Semite and racist. When those men and Keir Starmer, the PM, he's married to a Jewish woman. When those guys say freely, Benjamin Netanyahu sets foot on British soil, we're going to arrest him. They make that clear, and then they come to the UN and they join the Palestinian State Party. So talk about feeling legitimate. And now, Harel, in the wake of the Manchester attack, the Palestinian protest marches are continuing. The government begged them to not march this weekend out of respect and reverence for the dead, and they're still marching tomorrow.
Because they don't have any respect to the dead. They're, a long time ago they dehumanized those Jews who have nothing to do with necessarily with Israel. They are, proud British people who just went to synagogue and were killed because of their religion. So one may say, to be anti-Israeli is not to be an anti-Semite, but in so many cases, this is exactly the way it works in parallel. I saw today a tweet, really a shameful tweet of Zoharan Mamdani here in this city, which is considered the second largest Jewish city in the world, and he is shamelessly telling lies, sheer lies about what happened with the flotilla, that they were mistreated, that they were brutally handled, and all they wanted to do is just to provide aid to Gaza. Now, everything that he said and tweeted was a lie. And they were not mistreated. They were not handcuffed even. They were immediately taken to a place where they got food.
They were given care. They were given shelter. Yes.
Exactly. And by the way, they were not even carry so much aid. And that aid, Israel offered them. We will take this aid and provide it and make sure that it will get to Gaza. But they were only interested in the provocation. Now, Mamdani took all these lies and created a context by which that, ordinary people are saying, Israel is so bad because Mamdani said that. And when it starts with Israel is so bad, very soon, as we know from our experience, including here in the U.S., the finger is pointed also to Jews who has nothing to do with the conflict.
At all. We're talking to research fellow at Tel Aviv University, regular friend of the show, Harel Chorev. We're grateful for his time this morning on Another Side of Midnight. And Harel, so, the other big news this week, yesterday, came out that it seems that the Trump peace plan, has been somewhat tacitly accepted by Hamas, and very, very interested to hear your take on Trump's response to Hamas's answer. I think you were telling me that we shouldn't take it at face value, that it could be a little slippery below the surface.
I absolutely agree with your diagnosis. It's exactly the way we think about it. In my view, and Trump, really, President Trump is a great friend of Israel, and I think the Jewish people as well, and really is being widely adored in Israel. But I think the tweet was, how to say, a little bit
tricky,
but enthusiastic. I think enthusiasm was a little bit early, because what Hamas basically said was that they are, of course, welcoming President Trump plan, but when you read what they're basically saying, they're not saying anything about demilitarization, which is the main thing, the main issue. And another thing is that they insist to be part of the new regime in Gaza Strip, which is a big no-no.
Wow.
To all parties to all parties from our side, I would say that, from the U.S. and Israel side. And that thing was ignored. However, I absolutely sign and on your diagnosis that under the surface there are probably things that we don't know, and agreements that were reached between President Trump and, for example, Qatar and Egypt, because what we hear is that they promised him that Hamas will comply with anything that he demands. Let's see if it will happen, because we are talking about jihadists, genocidal jihadists.
Yeah.
We should never forget
this
that.
Would be the very, very first time that Hamas has been willing to demilitarize, if it was all to be true. This would be the very first time they've ever agreed to a deal and followed through with it. Now, the idea of demilitarizing of Hamas, if you were to be suspicious of what Hamas might actually do you think that they could be drawing in the IDF for some sort of ambush, some sort of sabotage? I mean, do you see a scenario where maybe they're looking for payback of some of these recent successes by the Mossad in their attacks on Hezbollah and others? I mean, what do you think could be up their sleeve if they're not going to?
All night long, this is Another Side of Midnight
with TJ McCormack.
77 WABC.